Everyone wants to belong, but when you're the first in your family to go to college or enter the workforce at a certain level, the hard work you've done may not feel like enough to move in those spaces. Our next guest has some insights and solutions for this dilemma. Let's welcome Dr. Kimberly Underwood, Chair of the Center for Workplace Diversity and Inclusion at the University of Phoenix. Hello, Dr. Underwood.
Desiree, thank you for having me.
Yes,
Hello.
happy to have you on. Doctor, I wanted to ask you, why is a sense of belonging so important in a workplace?
Well, generally, belonging is a sense of feeling accepted and included by those around you. But specifically in the workplace, it means individuals feel they are treated equitably, they're respected, they feel they can comfortably contribute to organizational goals and outcomes and conversations, and they can bring their full, authentic selves into the workplace. Within our research center, through two parallel studies focused on both higher education and the workforce, we explored how the presence or absence of social capital impacts a sense of belonging for students and workers of color. We all recognize in many instances that graduation leads to employment. However, there's this ongoing disconnect surrounding the role social capital plays within the process of building continuous networks that support these groups throughout their career trajectories.
That's important. And you had mentioned the research that's being done. Could you talk a little bit more about what was discovered in that?
Absolutely. In both of these studies, strong feelings of belonging were associated with the presence of social capital, meaning the resources that arise from the web of relationships we build with those around us and that contribute to our professional goals. Specifically, findings within our higher education study suggest students of color experience a higher sense of belonging when there's a strong presence of support services, faculty interactions, and career development services. And then findings from our workplace study suggest relationships such as mentoring and sponsorship, networking opportunities, and collaborations are important to employees of color when reflecting upon their sense of belonging in the workforce.
And from an employer standpoint, how can feelings of not belonging affect a worker's performance or even cause that turnover risk?
Oh, great question. A lot of studies have talked about inclusion and belonging from the stance of it being a business imperative. If we think about, for instance, an employee that is disengaged and they feel they don't belong, they're going to spend more time looking for new employment and new opportunities than they would be fully engaged within the organization. But then also, studies have shown where employees who feel that they belong in the workplace take less sick days. They're more apt to talk positively about your organization and be more engaged within the working process. And so, therefore, this means that leaders need to start thinking about this as a business imperative. So, two things that we thought about from these studies: first and foremost, how leaders need to take a more active role in the process of employee development. That's important. When leaders become co pilots within the continued development of all employees, it helps employees to identify, utilize, and benefit from those resources that are not always readily available to all. And then for those who may be thinking about how to build belonging within their organizations, it's important that we begin to look at this concept of belongingness through the lens of our employees. If we were actually to compare our workforce to real estate, for example, our studies suggest that it's a buyer's market. And specifically, employees are making strategic decisions about what they need within the working environments. And many within this study noted a willingness to leave their organizations if they feel they don't belong. So, therefore, belonging becomes that concept that is really important for leaders and managers to consider.
Yeah, something that a lot of employers need to pay attention to and focus on. Dr. Underwood, thank you so much for this insight and telling us about the research that's been done and what we can do to improve the feeling of belonging. You can find out more by going to phoenix.edu/inclusive leader.